So today, you're going to see me cooking or attempting to cook whilst I make a video. I've been super busy and I've still got to do some lesson planning. I've got to do some reviewing of other things, and so I'm trying to kill two birds with one stone. I've also got a new tripod for my camera phone, and so I'm testing that out. So this could either be successful or it could be an absolute disaster and I end up with no fingers. So I'm making some meatballs, and then I'm going to saute some vegetables to go with it. I've got most of my ingredients ready, so I'm going to kind of get on with it. You probably won't see too much as I'm doing it, but I'm going to get on it. So somebody asked me a while ago what was it like when I was diagnosed, and what challenges do I face as a person on the autistic spectrum, and things like that. So I was trying to work out when I was diagnosed, and I think it was in 2000 when I first diagnosed, and I think it was in 2003. Something in my mind kept saying I was 23, but I don't think I can have been, because I was at university from the age of 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. It could have been, I could have been 23, 24, or it could have been in 2003. I really can't remember. But it came about because I had some real challenges when I went to university. Not being independent, I was fine at being independent, but just having a lack of routine, missing boundaries, I guess, and too much ability to be able to do what I wanted to just do what I wanted to do. And I mean, to be fair, the first few months were a lot of drinking, because I didn't really drink before then. I was pretty much teetotal, so I wanted to be in with the crowd, and so I certainly did a lot of drinking. But I think it was also my way of coping with being in a situation that was actually quite difficult. Going, from my tight-knit family in a small community, in a small village, farming village, to being in this place with, I don't know, so many people, so many different systems, so many things to get used to. And it was pretty hard. I'd struggled at university. I'd had some mental health issues. I'd always known I was different. There was certain little things as I went through school. I didn't understand some of the things that people were interested in, and why they wanted to do that. I didn't get it. I could make social conversation, but it was tricky. I had to copy a lot of people. I did a lot of fake it till you make it kind of thing, not really understanding. There was misunderstandings. I didn't always understand what everybody said to me. I mean, I knew the words and whatever, but because I couldn't pick up on body language or hidden meanings or reading between the lines, it did cause a few problems. And I did have friends, sometimes not always the best of friends, because it was easy to take advantage of me, particularly at secondary school. And I realised that. And there were some bullying incidences. There wasn't a ton, but there were some. And that was always difficult, adding some chilies. But I knew something was different. I knew I liked routine. I knew I liked things in a certain way. And social situations were difficult. And like I said, some communication issues. So I went to university, those boundaries had gone or whatever. And I struggled. I just struggled. There was other things going on as well, but I struggled. Then I started work. I met my first partner, and we were living together, and something quite big happened, which now's not really the time to discuss that. And I ended up having to go to, first of all, see a doctor to get medication because he thought I was depressed. And then I was referred to outpatient place at the mental health centre. And it was there, after being kind of reviewed. It was I wasn't tested as such. It was more an interview, clinical interview, I would say. I'm just answering lots of questions, asking, about my family history, my schooling, etc. And yeah, that's when it kind of came up. So then, this is Worcester sauce, a poor version of Dresden version of Worcester sauce, not the real thing. It's not exactly the same, but it's okay. It's okay. Anyway, and so after a while, after these questions, complete these interviews, I had to go back, and they gave me a report. And when he talked to me, he said, you don't like change, you like routines, you find social situations difficult, use of language, I think at the time he labelled it as high functioning autism. By that time I was working in schools, and I was working with kids with different needs, and that's always been my passion. And so I was reading stuff up about different disabilities and conditions, and I had seen there was some information on autism and Asperger's. I mean, the stuff on when you looked at autism, it was autism with severe communication issues and cognitive challenges, and so I didn't think that particularly fit me. But when I looked into Asperger's, I could definitely make some links. So that was when I was diagnosed. I was still on medication for depression, but perhaps it wasn't depression. It's probably I just couldn't deal with sensory overload, everything that was happening to me, not understanding, misunderstandings, all kinds of things. So that was in the early 2000s. And as I got older and my career developed and whatever, I found more information, and I had to do a lot of research myself, and talk to Ed Sykes, talk to autism specialists, because we used to have some come into the school I worked at, and I had to do a lot of stuff myself, because yes, I was given this kind of diagnosis, but I wasn't given any help or any strategies or any information to go with that. So that's when I was first diagnosed, and it was difficult, and I had to do a lot of work myself to try and help myself, and I had to really advocate for myself. So that's when that's a little bit of my story about my diagnosis.